Hello and welcome to Ancient Indian Stories, the podcast where we explore the timeless tales and legends from ancient Indian mythology and history. I'm your host, Arav, and today we're diving into one of the greatest epics of all time, the Mahabharata. We'll be covering the origins of this legendary tale, the story of creation as told in its opening chapters, the fascinating dynamics between its authors, and the historical significance of Samanta Panchaka, the land where some of its most pivotal battles occurred. The Mahabharata, an epic so vast it spans generations, continents, and even worlds beyond our own. But where did it all begin? According to the ancient texts, the story of the Mahabharata begins at a great gathering. Thousands of sages had come together at the forest of Naimisharanya for a 12-year-long sacrificial ceremony presided over by sage Saunaka. It was here that the great sage Ugrasrava Sauti, the son of a storyteller, took center stage to narrate the events of the Mahabharata to the assembled sages. Imagine this scene. Sauti stands in front of the sacred fire, surrounded by the wisest men of the age. The atmosphere is electric, filled with reverence and anticipation. It's in this setting that Sauti recounts the story of the epic, an epic that is not just the tale of a family feud, but also a philosophical exploration of life, duty, and destiny. Sauti begins by explaining the origins of the universe itself, providing a cosmic backdrop for the events that will unfold in the Mahabharata. He speaks of the great primordial forces, the eternal, infinite beings that shape the world as we know it. Creation, destruction, and rebirth are intertwined, painting a vivid picture of the cycle of life that would later define the lives of the epic's characters. It's through this rich cosmic narrative that the foundation of the Mahabharata is laid. We learn that nothing in the epic is incidental. Every event, every conflict is deeply tied to the larger forces that govern existence. And so, with this grand, universal scope in mind, the story begins. As we delve deeper into the Mahabharata, we come across one of the most profound sections, the story of creation. According to the epic, creation isn't a single, isolated event. It's a continuous, cyclical process driven by the interactions of divine forces and cosmic energies. Let's explore how the Mahabharata describes the birth of the universe and the existence of everything within it. In the beginning, there was nothing but an all-encompassing void, a boundless ocean of darkness. From this void, the principle of existence emerged, Brahman, the ultimate reality, infinite and formless. It was from this cosmic principle that everything else came into being. First to emerge from the void was Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe. Brahma, born from a golden egg, looked out into the emptiness and began the monumental task of creation. From his very thoughts sprang the basic elements of the cosmos. The sky, or Akasha, was created first. Brahma spoke, and the vast expanse of the heavens spread out in all directions. Then came the Vayu, the wind, moving through the sky, invisible but powerful. Brahma filled the air with life-giving energy, the very breath that all beings would one day inhale. Next came Agni, the element of fire. A brilliant flame shot forth from Brahma, representing light, heat, and the force that would transform raw materials into life. Fire was not just the source of warmth, but also the symbol of purity and the power to consume and renew. Then Brahma created Apas, or water, which flowed freely, covering the universe. Water was seen as the source of fertility, the essence that would nourish all living beings. The water spread over the earth, making way for the next element. Finally, Prithvi, the earth, was formed. The solid ground emerged from the swirling waters, giving a stable foundation to the universe. Brahma took the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space, and combined them to create the world we live in. But Brahma didn't stop there. From his mind he created time, or kala, marking the passage of moments. This was essential because, without time, the events of the universe could not unfold. With the basic structure of the universe in place, Brahma began populating it with life. He created the plants and trees, giving them the ability to grow and bear fruit. Mountains rose from the earth, their peaks reaching toward the heavens, while rivers flowed down, connecting the heavens, earth, and sea. From his body, Brahma then brought forth the Devas, the gods, who would help maintain the order of the universe. He also created the Asuras, powerful beings who were often in conflict with the gods, representing the forces of chaos and destruction. Together, the Devas and Asuras would play their roles in maintaining the delicate balance between creation and destruction. But Brahma's creation didn't stop with the gods and demons. He created the first humans who were born with the task of carrying out the duties of life, survival, growth, and spiritual fulfillment. Alongside humans came the rishis, the sages and seers, who were entrusted with the knowledge of the Vedas. These rishis were tasked with guiding humanity toward wisdom and righteousness. To ensure the cycle of life, Brahma created night and day, marking the rhythmic pattern of activity and rest. He made the moon and stars to illuminate the night sky and the sun to shine during the day, bringing warmth and energy to all beings. But there was more. Brahma created animals, birds, and aquatic creatures, each with a specific purpose in the cosmic order. The cows, sacred to the gods, were seen as the givers of life-sustaining milk. Birds flew in the sky, symbolizing freedom and spirituality, while the aquatic creatures swam in the depths, representing the mysteries of the unknown. Through this divine process of creation, each element, each living being, came into existence for a specific purpose. Brahma's creation was not random. It was a carefully orchestrated plan where everything had a role to play, from the tiniest insect to the mighty gods. And so, the Mahabharata reminds us that we are all part of this vast, interconnected web of creation. From the earth beneath our feet to the stars above, everything is tied to the grand, cyclical nature of the universe, where creation, preservation, and destruction are in constant balance. This cosmic order, with all its beauty and complexity, would eventually set the stage for the events of the Mahabharata, a tale where divine forces, human struggles, and destiny are forever intertwined. But just as creation was a divine act, it was also fraught with tension. The forces of good and evil, the gods and the demons, were always in conflict. These cosmic battles were not just symbolic, but would later play out in the lives of the characters in the Mahabharata. From the very outset, we are reminded that the world is a battlefield, and the forces that shape it are constantly at war. Now, let's dive into one of the most fascinating aspects of the Mahabharata, its authorship. Who wrote this colossal epic? Was it the great sage Vyasa, or was it Lord Ganesha? Well, the answer is a bit more complex and magical than you might think. According to legend, both Vyasa and Ganesha played a role. But the way Ganesha was chosen as the scribe is a story worth telling in itself. Sage Vyasa, one of the greatest sages in Indian history, was the visionary behind the Mahabharata. He conceived this epic in his mind, filled with the wisdom and insights of ages. But given the monumental scope of the work, over 100,000 verses, he knew that writing it down would be a challenge. Vyasa needed someone with extraordinary abilities to assist him. So Vyasa prayed and meditated deeply, seeking divine guidance. He needed someone who could not only write swiftly, but also fully understand the depth and complexity of his composition. After all, the Mahabharata isn't just a narrative, it's a philosophical treatise, a spiritual guide, and a historical account all rolled into one. As Vyasa's prayers reached the heavens, Lord Brahma, the creator, appeared before him. Vyasa explained his need for a scribe, someone capable of transcribing the epic without any interruptions. Brahma, recognizing the magnitude of the task, advised Vyasa to invoke Lord Ganesha, the god of wisdom, intellect, and beginnings. Ganesha, Brahma said, was the perfect candidate to take on such a massive and sacred duty. So, Vyasa followed Brahma's advice and invoked Lord Ganesha. Ganesha, with a mind known for its sharpness and clarity, appeared before Vyasa. But Ganesha, always wise and playful, didn't agree immediately. He presented a condition that would make things interesting. Ganesha said, "I will write down your epic, but on one condition. You must recite it without pause. If you stop at any point, I will stop writing, and the task will remain unfinished." Now this put Vyasa in a difficult position. The Mahabharata was vast, and while Vyasa could dictate the verses quickly, he also needed time to think and craft the intricate narrative. But Vyasa was no ordinary sage. With a clever smile, he agreed to Ganesha's condition, but with one condition of his own. He told Ganesha, "I accept your challenge, but you must not write down any verse until you fully understand its meaning." Ganesha, confident in his wisdom, agreed. What followed was a remarkable partnership. Vyasa would recite verses in quick succession, his voice flowing with the power of his insight and vision. Ganesha, ever diligent, would listen and transcribe the verses at lightning speed. But when Vyasa needed more time to compose the next sections, he cleverly introduced verses with deep, complex meanings, forcing Ganesha to pause and contemplate the significance before writing them down. It was a brilliant strategy on Vyasa's part. By creating verses that required thought and reflection, he bought himself enough time to think ahead while ensuring that Ganesha remained engaged with the deeper meaning of the epic. This dynamic between the two, the sage, who was both fast and thoughtful, and the god, who was wise but cautious, allowed the Mahabharata to be transcribed without any interruptions. Over time, the synergy between Vyasa and Ganesha became legendary. Their collaboration produced not only the longest epic poem ever written, but also one of the most profound works of literature and philosophy ever composed. Let's pause for a moment to appreciate what this story symbolizes. The relationship between Vyasa and Ganesha is more than just a tale of authorship. It's a metaphor for the balance between thought and action, wisdom and expression. Vyasa's deep knowledge and Ganesha's swift intellect worked in perfect harmony, embodying the idea that great things are accomplished when wisdom and action are united. This story also gives us a glimpse into Ganesha's role as the remover of obstacles. While Ganesha set a challenge for Vyasa, he also helped him overcome the massive hurdle of transcribing the Mahabharata. By removing obstacles, Ganesha made sure the world would receive this invaluable epic in its entirety. And there you have it, the tale of how Ganesha was chosen to be the writer of the Mahabharata. It's a story that reminds us of the beauty of divine collaboration and the power of perseverance, intelligence, and creativity working hand in hand. Now we come to one of the most significant and blood-soaked locations in the Mahabharata, Samanta Panchaka. This land, where the Kurukshetra war took place, has a dark and fascinating history that stretches back long before the Mahabharata itself. It was here that Parashurama, an earlier avatar of Lord Vishnu, carried out a brutal act of vengeance against the Kshatriya class. But who was Parashurama, and what drove him to such fury? Parashurama, also known as Rama with the axe, was born to the sage Jamadagni and his wife Renuka. His father, Jamadagni, was a revered Brahmin sage, known for his spiritual prowess and wisdom. His mother, Renuka, was equally devout, and together they lived a life of simplicity and asceticism. Parashurama, their youngest son, was destined for greatness. His name, Parashu, comes from the axe given to him by Lord Shiva, symbolizing his immense strength and his role as a warrior sage. But despite being born into a Brahmin family, Parashurama was no ordinary sage. He was also a fierce warrior, trained in the martial arts by Lord Shiva himself. His dual nature as both a Brahmin and a Kshatriya gave him a unique position in the cosmic order, one that would eventually lead to conflict and bloodshed. The story of Parashurama's vengeance begins with his father, sage Jamadagni. Jamadagni possessed a miraculous cow named Kamadhenu, capable of granting all desires. One day, the local Kshatriya king, Kartavirya Arjuna, visited the sage's hermitage. Envious of the cow's magical powers, Kartavirya forcefully seized Kamadhenu, despite Jamadagni's protests. This act of arrogance would set off a chain of events that would echo across generations. Furious at this injustice, Parashurama sought out Kartavirya Arjuna and killed him, retrieving the sacred cow. But the story doesn't end there. In retaliation, Kartavirya's sons attacked Jamadagni's hermitage when Parashurama was away, and in a shocking display of brutality, they murdered the sage in cold blood. Parashurama returned to find his father slain and his mother devastated. Overcome with rage and grief, he vowed revenge, not just against the killers, but against the entire Kshatriya class. In his mind, the Kshatriyas, who were meant to protect Dharma and righteousness, had become corrupt and arrogant, abusing their power for personal gain. Driven by this thirst for justice, Parashurama embarked on a brutal campaign. Over the course of many years, he fought and defeated the Kshatriya kings not once, not twice, but 21 times, wiping out entire generations of Kshatriyas. He roamed across the land, slaying every Kshatriya he encountered, until their numbers were decimated. But even after this campaign of destruction, Parashurama's anger was not fully satiated. The land itself had become soaked with blood, symbolizing the consequences of unchecked rage and vengeance. Parashurama knew that his actions, though justified in his eyes, had far-reaching consequences. It was then that he sought to atone for his deeds by performing a great penance at the site now known as Samanta Panchaka. Samanta Panchaka, the land where 5 lakes of blood were formed by Parashurama's slaughter, is said to have been purified by his prayers and penance. The once blood-stained earth was cleansed, and the lakes were filled with water, transforming the land into a place of redemption. But how was Parashurama pacified? It was sage Kashyapa, a great sage of wisdom, who intervened. Kashyapa reminded Parashurama that the cycle of violence could not continue indefinitely, and that only forgiveness could bring lasting peace. Parashurama realizing the truth in Kashyapa's words, renounced his weapons and withdrew from worldly affairs, retreating into the mountains to live a life of meditation and penance. Thus, Samanta Panchaka became a place not just of vengeance, but of redemption. It was here that Parashurama's rage was tempered and the land was purified, preparing it for its future role in the Mahabharata. This very site, which had witnessed such immense bloodshed, would later become the battlefield of the Kurukshetra war, where the Pandavas and Kauravas would fight for justice and dharma. As for the present-day location of Samanta Panchaka, it is widely believed to correspond to the region of Kurukshetra in modern-day Haryana, India. Kurukshetra is revered as a sacred site, not just because of the epic war that was fought there, but because of its deep spiritual history stretching back to Parashurama's time. To this day, the land holds immense significance in Indian culture, symbolizing both the destruction and renewal that come with the cycles of life and karma. And that, my friends, is the tale of Samanta Panchaka, a land shaped by vengeance, soaked in blood, but ultimately redeemed. It's a powerful reminder of the consequences of unchecked anger and the potential for forgiveness and transformation, even in the darkest of times. And with that, we've covered some of the most fascinating aspects of the Mahabharata, from its cosmic beginnings to the story of creation, the relationship between Vyasa and Ganesha, and the blood-soaked yet sacred land of Samanta Panchaka. This epic has truly captured the imagination of generations. Thank you for joining me today on Ancient Indian Stories. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to visit our website, ancientindianstories.com, to explore more articles, stories, and insights into ancient Indian mythology. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends, and leave us a review. Until next time, I'm Arav, reminding you to keep exploring the timeless tales of ancient India.